Here's our ripe tomatoes in June. Would you like a ripe tomato, babe?
Sure.
Hey guys, I'm in front of the big greenhouse today. I do have things in the self-heating greenhouse, but I am struggling with that a little bit because in the backyard we have a lot more heat, a lot more reflection. We had to put a shade cloth on that one. This one we have really good airflow through it, and so just a little bit of a different story. What you see here are these massive Swiss chard, really big Swiss chard. And what I do with these is I come out and harvest them and we give them to piggies. Alright, we'll see if we can get them their food this morning. Hey guys! Okay, let's see. Now this boy, he is a Kuni American Guinea Hog mix, and he gets fat a lot easier than the others that have Julianne in them. So this is a good diet for him. Swiss chard will cut and come again, and it's fantastic. It's like a spinach that doesn't bolt. Other things that I have in here are celery, onions, kale, lots of everything. By the way, the ribs of Swiss chard are fantastic for fermenting as pickles. They make the best pickles. But I still have quite a few greens. What happens is when you broadcast your seed in here and it's really thick, is that once you take one thing down, something else will suddenly sprout up and be super happy. And so every time I cut greens down in here, more come up. Do you mind feeding these to the pigs? Big bouquet of pig fodder. It's perfectly good for people, but we just already have it in so many other places. So, thank you. There will be more. You could take that and then come back. Thanks, honey. So, what was I saying? Oh, so what I wanted to show you today is potatoes. At this point in the year, most people have a lot of sprouted potatoes, and they've planted as many as they could, yet they still have sprouted potatoes. So at this point in the year, I cook them in really big batches, and whatever we don't use for hash browns goes to the pigs. We have boxes and boxes left, and anything that's green, we find a place to plant. This is one of those places. We started planting potatoes out here in March, I think March or February. We've already harvested potatoes out of here, and that's what we're eating currently. We've been eating them since May, and I wanted to show you some of them if I can get in here and find some. Alright, so here's one. See that? Alright, so I planted these guys in March. I'll try and find you footage of that. I wanted to show you what kind of potatoes we're getting just off of these little buggers. So I pulled the plant up first, and then I just go back in and hunt around for the potatoes themselves. And I'm trying not to harvest more than what we'll eat in one meal. I kind of like to leave it in here growing, because then they stay really nice and fresh. Alright, so this is another potato. Again, I don't worry if I don't see a whole bunch of little potatoes come up initially, because I just pull the plant up, and then I just go hunting for potatoes. I don't have to overthink it. Oh, that's a big one. It's a nice one. Oh, another good one. But it's June here, and just barely most people are starting to put their potatoes in right now, whereas this is when I'm harvesting. And you can see from the pretty little white bumps that they're super, super fresh. When you come in and harvest, it disrupts the roots, which means that the rest of the garden's going to look a little rough for a minute. Everything that you disturbed is going to kind of take a bit of a tricky break for a bit. So I'm done for now. We'll come harvest when we need more. I'm not worried about these being storage potatoes. They're just fresh eating. I'm looking at all the crap that I need to harvest. I probably am. Well, I uncovered a few tomatoes.
Nice.
Does anybody look for eggs today?
Probably not.
Okay, well, before you go in, let's look for eggs. We have a big pile of sawdust that our friend just brought us, and a bale of hay. Feels like riches this time of year. That wasn't really the look I was getting on her face, was stealthy ninja.
Not ninja,
Okay, Paige,
pirate.
stop. You're just going to take out... Hey, boys. Are you killing it? Killing it. These boys are keeping the grass down in the part of the garden that I did not plant this year. I did plant the potatoes. Oh yeah, there's potatoes in there too. Alright, so we have corn, we have peas, we have potatoes, I don't remember what else we have. Swiss chard, beets, all sorts of stuff in there, and I haven't weeded it. Well, I weed whacked a little bit, but that's it.
Hey.
And this is our little fire pit area. And our outhouse. Alright, so there you go. I've got potatoes planted in the front that are in the rows. We won't touch those for quite a while because those are going to be storage potatoes. All of our fresh eating potatoes are coming from the hotbeds that we planted in March. I'm just systematically going through and pulling out potatoes when I need them and leaving the rest to grow. And in the meantime, we have lots of greens out there. The better I harvest the greens back, the better the tomatoes will do. But mostly I just kind of forget that it's there. Again, soaker hoses, all the hotbeds get watered at once. We just turn on the pump for 15 minutes and we're finished, so I don't actually have to go look at the beds, which is, you know, kind of maybe not such a great thing because I can just kind of neglect it. But the animals eat off the hotbeds, we eat off the hotbeds, and it gives me a much longer growing season. Last year we had a 340-day growing season. I don't know what we'll have this year. We'll have to see. And then all the pallets are for the next big hotbed. For hotbeds, you want a new hotbed in January. For spring hotbeds, you can plant in March. you don't need a new hotbed. You can use an old hotbed. But for our temperatures, -20s Fahrenheit, really, really long winters, you need a brand new, just started hotbed in January in order to have good food production and a longer growing season.
Aren't there only 365 days in a year?
Yes.
It's 345 growing days.
Well, that's how many growing days I had. That's when I stopped covering.
In the greenhouse.
That's when I stopped covering the hotbeds. I didn't care to have it grow anymore, so it wasn't that it wasn't able to grow more. It's just that I stopped covering it in November because I didn't want to garden anymore for the year.
Can't blame you.
Yeah. So, if you're interested in the plans for the self-heating greenhouse and also for the hotbeds, I have them on my Etsy store. Make sure to go check that out, and we'll talk to you later. What's he looking at?
Probably mushrooms.
Last time he found a
Spiders. It'll be
mushroom.
spiders.
Last time he found a mushroom, he started foaming at the mouth, and we had to pour hydrogen peroxide down his throat.
It's probably a spider, actually.
All right, so these are our new spring potatoes. The skin is very thin and will rub off. They're not cured potatoes for storage. And then this is rock chuck, is the meat, with dehydrated onions and garlic and salt on it, and some au jus from a different meal. And this is lunch.